Hello. How do you start these things? Especially something called My Wife Joined a Cult. I thought of many other titles. I've thought of different methods to deal with this. I've thought a lot. It's a lot of contemplation, mindfulness, also consternation, resentment, anger. I've just been through all of it. It's like the stages of grief, because it's now my ex-wife. My wife joined a cult, and that's where things went. And hello, my name is Craig Shoemaker. I have to give some background. I always assume that people know because I've had a nice, beautiful career in show business, mostly stand-up comedy. A lot of people know me as the love master. So sometimes, though, I don't master the love thing. I certainly have given it a shot. Can't say that I haven't. This is not my first marriage. We'll get to all of it. I'm going to tell you a story, and I'd like to state my intentions first because a lot of me is about being honest and transparent. I think that's what made me a good stand-up. And transparent-wise, I already recorded episode 1. I sent it to some people along with 2 other episodes that they loved. And the first one they didn't love as much because I didn't set up the story. And that's what I'm going to do here with intention. And the intention is always been a solution guy since day one. I make fun of myself in my act. I've done rescuing since I was a kid. My dad left when I was born. Something I said, wah, and then became the man of the house. And this was a real process from day one, minute one, looking for something outside of myself to fulfill this longing inside of me that existed from the get. And so a lot of this is going to be process. A lot of this will be discovery, my own discoveries, and the rumbles, stumbles, fumbles, crumbles, and fumbles and tumbles. All of it. And the hope would be, as it always is, I was always trying to fix my mom up with, tell stories about, I'll open up with one of them. I used to collect baseball cards. And one of my mom married so bad because my dad, I thought his name was doesn't pay the child support. I thought that was his name. I mean, she constantly talked about that. And he really wasn't there very much. And here's the irony, by the way. He became a cult leader. He ran a cult called Pocono Adventures on Mules. By the way, part of the problem with being a comic is, is he making this up? I actually don't even talk about my dad in my act all these years because it's such a crazy story. And my life remained crazy, apparently. I don't know. Is it my destiny? Is it my karma? Is it my karma from a past life or this life? I don't know. We'll question these things. We'll get to it. But it's a story I think that needs to be told for a lot of reasons. Maybe people also share the abandonment that I felt growing up and the need to fulfill this something inside of me to fill that hole. I mean, a lot of people go through certain things in their lives. Some people ignore it. Some people don't. Seems like they don't even have issues. And I've got a lot of shoes. So the journey will be about, I believe, one of my intentions is that someone steps in and helps our children get their mom back. I mean, it's 50-50 custody and all that, but she's gone. The person that I fell in love with, that had these beautiful children with, is gone. And it's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've been through tragedies in my life. I've had really difficult things. I was kidnapped when I was a kid by a serial pedophile. I was beaten. Drugs and alcohol and theft and so many things that I've been through. One thing I am is resilient, though. Made it through all of it, including a divorce before, which that two children with that, and she came after me with everything she had, and that really blew up a lot of lives. That desire to really take me down, and that was that's a whole other book. But in this one, I don't know if there's. I guess I could have hope that someone might listen, like a friend of hers, and step in and say, "Hey, wake up, wake up! You need to move away from this person that has you, this person that brainwashed you." We're going to call her the person. I don't want to get sued. I'll get into that later, but we're going to call her broke because that's what you'll end up to be if you deal with her. And we'll call my ex-wife, we'll call her Lotus because that's her new name that she has now. Yeah, Lotus. It's all part of it. And Lotus and I began our journey together as friends. I was trying to actually deal with my ex-wife at the time, wife before, who, was, really some very, very hard stuff to deal with, accusations and allegations. It was just a nightmare. I still held on to 50% custody, but that was not easy. And it cost me, it cost emotionally, spiritually, it cost financially. It was really, really a train wreck from someone that just could not deal with her own stuff. And I think that's the case here. I'm not going to be a clinician. I'm going to tell you some facts and some speculation in what things could be, but that's what they are. And I'll name some things as just fact, and you can decide for yourself. Or, one of the things that really bothers me about her is she would never seek help or a diagnosis for any of the things that were happening, which was a lot. Really bothersome how someone can just be that arrogant, narcissistic to believe that you have no issues to take care of with a professional. Now, she goes to people. We'll get to that. I'm going to do a lot of, we'll get to that. Just put the kids to bed. And I just wanted to come in here and share this journey, share this story with you with hope. Someone might step in. The speculation is it alien possession? Is it demonic possession? Is it menopause? Is it midlife crisis? Is it bipolar? She has two brothers who committed suicide within 3 weeks of one another. And it's actually how we met. I was at this Agape Spiritual Center. I've been going for years to get, to me, everything in life, in success. And I've had a lot of success in life with the relationships and business and so forth. I've had a ton of awards and rewards and beautiful friendships, long lasting, from kindergarten, a television show with a guy from third grade. I mean, I really stay connected with people, and it's one of the reasons why I think our family has benefited from this as well. There's a worldliness that I passed on to the kids, intelligence, spirituality, intuitive sense, gratitude. That's a real big one we've done at the dinner table since all the kids were little. And this was my goal, was to bring these values. And I get these values a lot from Agape. I mean, I learn a lot about higher source, higher power, love, light, levity, whatever it is. That's what I teach when I coach, is love, light, and love. We're all born that way. That's what we have, this potency that wishes to be released. And I was there to deal with, at the time, my very difficult situation with just accusing me. I remember had my son, he was a baby, and he was screaming at colic, and she comes down, "What are you doing to him?" Like, oh, that's where it started. And it got sick from there, just sick. And I must tell you, all throughout this story, that being a big white guy is not easy. I'm not trying to play victim ever, but that's the deal, is people are going to assume, even you listening now, some people are going to listen and go, "Oh, listen to this guy. He's got to be guilty of something," or whatever it is. And I understand that those assumptions are going to take place, especially being a guy who's got a voice, and people say, "Well, she doesn't have a voice." Well, she does, and she's used her voice quite a bit on social media. And so I'm at Agape, and I literally, we're taking courses. These were certified courses in spirituality. And there she was, Lotus. And we became friends, talked in the parking lot, a lot of philosophical stuff. This is probably about 23 years ago, 22 years ago or so. And then I would take my son there on a Sunday, and that was at night. I'd take my son there, and so she knew my son a little bit, had opinions about our relationship. I remember that. And she's just this really peaceful, beautiful person, Lotus. And it was like this connectedness that we had. She lived in a tree house with no, I mean, she had to go to the bathroom like 40 yards away in the woods, Topanga, and seemed to really love it. That was her choice. But she was there to deal with the trauma of these two brothers that committed suicide within 3 weeks of one another. So, which has to do with my concern about mental illness being possibly passed on. And I don't know what that mental illness is, but obviously that's what takes place if you have people that take their own lives and add to that pride. And they're from Japan. And I'm not being racist when I tell you this, but she's the one that said in the beginning when we are certainly getting along, there's a certain pride that takes place, a stubbornness with that culture. But it didn't come into play. We were just friends. And when I got divorced, we're on our way there one night, actually, as friends. And it was a nighttime service. And we stopped for sushi. And that was it. That was the day, for sure, a major bolt of love. I was particularly fascinated and fell for. It had been New Year's. It was about 17, 18 years ago. It was New Year's. And I said, "What'd you do?" And I'm not a big party reveler. I don't drink anymore for many years. And I was really taken by her journey when she said that she searched for the sunrise, for the nicest sunrise on the mountain. And she hiked like at 4 a.m. in the dark. And she also cleaned her place. She had a little cabin. And she cleaned her place. And I remember her talking about this, and I was just so fascinated by her. So, I just felt such an intimacy and a closeness. We were friends, but it was very casual. But this was it. And I remember I said, she says to me at the end of we didn't end up at Agape. We ended up this great conversation. I looked up and there was this huge game, one of the most historic games in college football history was going on the television, I recall. And I didn't care. That's how enthralled I was with her. I was just listening and really paying attention to who this person is. And I fell in love. And that night made fun of ourselves, or I made fun of myself where we ended up. I was started to go over options because I was newly single. I was pretty newly single, and I'm not very good at dating. I was there, "Hey, you want to go back to my place?" She's like, "What?" Watch a movie. And I said, "Why don't we go to the movies?" So we ended up going to the movies, this really dark movie. I think it was called Syriana. And went for a walk on the beach. And I think I got her to love me because she was about to trip over a puddle, and I grabbed her. And that was her moment. We both had those moments that night. And this is the key to my opinion is, and I believe we had a great marriage. I think the key is to see the person for who they truly are, and they see you for who you truly are. And I truly, no matter what people think about me or whatever, everybody has their opinions. I know in a non-cocky, arrogant, egotistical way, I know I'm a really great person with a giant heart, with the mistakes and everything else. But that's who I am. And she saw that, and I saw her for who she truly is. And I used to say, the greatest human being I ever met was Lotus. It's not her name, but the greatest person I ever met. And I used to say to people, there's not even a second and third place. There's no silver or bronze medal. She's the great. She's all three. And you might say, oh, you had her on a pedestal. Yeah, I probably did. But that pedestal was also a lifting up of her spirits, always make her laugh. It's my job in life, but it's also what I love to do, period, one-on-one, one-on-two, whatever it is. I love to make people happy. That wanders into rescue, though. I was telling you about my mom. I try to fix her up with guys all the time. I collected baseball cards. I could care less what they hit. I looked for one thing on the back of the card, marital status. I could still tell you the Philadelphia Phillies when I was a little boy that Larry Bow was married to Shayna Bow, so I discarded his card. I didn't interested. Greg Luzinski was married. I'm going to tell you he was married. There's a guy, he's a catcher, Tim McCarver. I said, look, Mom, this guy's a catcher and I'm a pitcher. He can adopt me and he can marry you. And he already won a World Series with the Cardinals. And she goes, he doesn't want me. Yes, he does. And I wrote him letters. Dear Tim McCarver, you should meet my mother. Here's her photo, her belly dancing outfit. Just kidding. My mom did belly dance. And he never wrote me back. But listen, things take time, folks. I told Joe Buck that story. Joe Buck is his broadcast partner for years. Tim McCarver, for many years. Joe Buck laughed at the story. Next time, then I think Joe got a ball signed by Tim McCarver, and I get this ball, and it says, "Dear son, time to grow up. Love, Dad," a.k.a. Tim McCarver. That was the dreamer that I always was. And there's part of that in here. I see red flags and paint them green. I get it. I really do. I have these patterns that certainly are there. And in this discovery, I might be able to find out what happened in this pattern when this person got together with an influencer, a cult type leader. People say, what kind of cult is she in? It's not, people say, Scientology. Look, a lot of people, there's no one in a cult, by the way, that believes they're in a cult. I guarantee you that. My dad had a cult, run the mule rides. He had all these women. He called it his harem. Literally, he said, I'm the king of the Poconos. That's his blue-collar honeymoon capital of the Northeast, the mountains. And these mules and horses, and 75 of them, and take people on these rides, adventure rides. And the women, he had a mother-daughter and so forth. And they didn't think they were in a cult either. I mean, they just think they're whatever. I mean, but no one ever does, and that includes my ex-wife, will not call this person a cult leader, but I'll describe it, and you probably will find that to be the case. I'm going to read something, someone else that was subjected to a woman like this woman broke. It's this, I call them wellness grifters. I got that term from my friend Claire. And such a perfect term, and I've been around them for a long time, and it's just these peaceful people who allegedly are about divine connection and ethereal connection and God and consciousness and mindfulness and presence and all of that. That's the alleged thing, and I get it. They might be their intention, but so many of them are criminal. And this woman broke. I will be describing for you what she did and what she does with women. She calls her mamas. It's all part of the game that she plays. It's a certain casting call that she has. Mothers of children, but the women are middle-aged. They have a husband who's probably like me and, large and in charge, allegedly. So she hits all those points and lures the women in. And it is women, too. She directs it to women, even though there's a man involved now who threatened my life. We're going to get to that, too. Some of this is also my intention is to protect myself and my children. If something happens, now it's recorded. And you'll know why it happened and how it happened and who did it. And there are crimes, and I'm not just, it's not hyperbole. There are crimes that have been committed a lot. This person, Lotus, has gone from this person I believe to be filled with integrity. We took this course together. It was all about integrity. This is what we were founded in. And we brought these children to the world and literally prayed for them to be here. We prayed for one, and then the next one, we prayed for a girl. And there's oh my God, they're the most beautiful. And they're like, I've never even been around kids like this. They don't have any brat moments. And then ever since the divorce, they're very protective of one another. They're with each other all the time. He's 14, she's 10. I mean, who does that? She's like the precocious little comedian, and he's always with her. Just tonight, they were just having this contest like it was Survivor, giggling and laughing. And we're just I said, here, make a recipe. We're all going to cook together tomorrow. We just do so many things together. So much fun. Their mom blew it up based on she was influenced by this woman who allegedly is about business, and it's MLMs. And I'm going to read this. So someone sent me a video, and I transcribed it with my chicken scratch handwriting. And this is, they've been in, I think, 7 different businesses together, Broke and Lotus, including another cult that they're involved in. But let me just hear, this is from a woman, so I'm always afraid of this sexist thing and, thinking that I'm a victim, blaming, and, I'm still hurting. Yeah, I am hurting, but I'm hurting for the children so much that this was done to them. My son, innocently, and he's literally like a 75-year-old old soul dude. He turns to Chloe. He says, "You never knew mommy before Broke." He used her real name, obviously. And he knew her before she went this tumble down this road with this woman who is just, I'm trying not to use adjectives. I'm just going to give you the words that she uses herself. I'll read some of her posts. It's a cult. I heard from another guy. She had that woman leave that marriage. She influences women to leave their marriages because she did it. And the cults are usually, the MLMs that's multi-level marketing usually. And I, by the way, was involved in one as well. But I was about the product, this product called Zri. Oh my God, I loved it. It was like this liquid nutritional. I was all about it, but you have to get people under you and all that crap. I never did like that crap, but I do understand it. You're not paying for advertising. It's not big corporations and things like that. I'm not knocking that necessarily, but like anything, when you don't have like someone in charge or really, leaders, and it's people go one MLM to the next, and it's just like anything, you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, it's filled with crazy people. If there's a few people that are really sober and really work it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just anywhere you go, religions are all bastardized by people. I mean, it's just the way it is. So you can't say it's all MLMs, but and a lot of them come out of Utah. So someone who knows Lotus and has watched this descent, I've sent at least 30 emails with concern. Some people, Lotus and Broke, ripped them off. I mean, this is a descent that's not only about the family. This is about someone who's just taken this dark, dark path. And so this is what this woman says on not an Instagram, a TikTok video. Someone I don't know, but someone I do know sent it to me and said, boy, does this look familiar. And she's talking about, well, here, I'll read it to you. So this is a woman talking to the camera. Utah, you let me know when you're ready to talk about this weird, bizarre, unsettling phenomenon among influencers, in Utah specifically, influencers that have been influencing for a long time. They were bloggers, like Broke. They were influencers, like Broke. They built up a following, like Broke. It's not a real name. I've said a number of times. That's a name we're going to use because I don't want to be threatened again. My life was threatened and threatened to take the children away. Yeah. By Broke and her boyfriend. They were influencers. They built up a following, and now they're starting cults. There's the use of cult. Maybe that is too niche. they're they're stating cult slash MLM slash coaching slash cultural Eastern philosophy and indigenous religion appropriation. You know, I didn't say that. It's not how I talk, but I'm with her because that's what my experience has been as well. It's effing weird. I'll try to keep this clean. People are shelling out thousands and thousands of dollars for these women. See, and it's a woman saying this, who have no credentials. And boy, does that ring true to me. This broke has no credentials. And she pummeled this information and opinions into my now ex-wife. Hundreds and hundreds of hours spent on Zoom with the earpods, leaving the family and just listening to this woman. And they literally call it listening parties. You're not allowed to have feedback. No accountability, no feedback. That's what she did. And that's all part of this multi-level marketing. They blend it. And they blend it with the words. She's effing weird. She says, these women know to do any of this. This is effing weird. I don't know what's happening. Like, they are leveraging their audience, a lot of whom are women who have left their religion, or they're in the middle of trying to figure out what they believe. And that's what happened with Lotus as well. One of the problems I believe we had is we just stopped going to Agape. We stopped bonding in prayer and so on. And when you have a higher source in charge, the other stuff gets taken care of because that's all powerful. It's a wonderful way to go. And we stopped going. And there you go. There's one of the things that happened. But then she went somewhere else to this broke and others. And she says, and they're exploiting them like big time. There's one person I'm thinking about in particular, and it's the weirdest effing shit. You go on her page and it's nonsense. Whoa, wait till I read the nonsense. It's unbelievable. When the boyfriend threatened me, he says, well, you know, it's libel, slander, whatever it is. It's like, all I got to do is read the stuff. I don't even have to have an opinion. You'll see for yourself. It's insanity. And my ex fell for it. The words are nonsense. They make literally no sense. They're made up words. It's like a conglomeration of all these different buzzwords of like woo. She has no credentials to do this. You're being scammed. You could use this money. Women are maxing out their credit cards for this. You could put it in actual therapy. I've said that as well. Go to a clinician, go to an expert, go to someone that says, here's how you can deal with your trauma about your brothers and your whatever it is, your family, whatever it is, your marriage. Work it out, do everything you can do. And how sad it is to watch this fall, this stubborn, prideful fall into actual crime. Crimes being committed by this woman who was an upper level spiritual, upper level good person. A therapist who follows a code of ethics. This broke has no ethics. They pretend they do. They all pretend. Oh, the social media posts. Wait till you hear these. I don't know, guys. It's weird, and I feel like who's talking about this? And there you go. I am. I'm talking about it. It's a warning shot. It's intervention. It's filled with hope as well. Maybe someone can step in. It's the darkest possession. I can't even believe sometimes her behavior. It's just shocking to me. And it started off, broke, came into our lives. I introduced them many, many years ago. And it's one of those things, there's this little thing. It's like a harbinger of things to come. But I let it go. And obviously, so did Lotus. She sold us on a multi-level marketing insurance program. And at the time, Lotus had moved out of the treehouse into my beautiful house. I had a beautiful house, and I'll never forget. This is part of my little rescuey thing. I'll never forget the feeling I had about her good feeling about being in my giant tub. And it was as big as her place that she came from. She lived in a tree house. And here she was. I remember I walked in on her and she had these headphones on. She was screaming ballroom blitz. Let's no tease her about that. Blitz, blitz, ballroom blitz. And we had so much fun and so much laughter. And we would, go to Agape, go to Landmark Forum, do all these things to just keep enriching ourselves. And it was just so incredible. And by the way, it became a great stepmom to my other kids. Like, I don't even know how I would have done it, especially I couldn't deal with the false allegations. She protected me on that. I don't know where I'd be if she wasn't there for that. So, phew, bless her. Oh, by the way, I want to read the woo woo. The one was just talking about the woo woo, the words. This is one of the gurus that they go to for medicine journeys. I don't know if you know what a medicine journey is, but they take some hallucinogenics and go to another place. And this is the woman. This is her page. Radiance, unleashed, unapologetic, provides Biz Oracle. Learn to monetize your magic online queen. This is all part of their group. Accelerating human consciousness while getting financially free and making a global impact. I love that I'm just going to lay this out for you. I don't even need opinion. And then maybe you'll join up. Maybe you'll find out Lotus's information and get in her downline. Shadow Priestess, psychedelic. I have never even heard that. Curandurx. Curanderx. She's been on several journeys. This was the shaman that she went to. She came back from the journey and says, I'm taking a coaching program. I said, whoa, what are you talking about? She goes, from this same person, that's $9,000, and she just did it. And I couldn't do anything about it. It's a really frustrating thing when someone just blatantly, she stole money constantly, moved it into accounts, and that one she just went, well. And men get labeled misogynist and sexist if you protest because it's half and half and it's community property and all that kind of stuff. It's just how it works. I don't know about fair or whatever the case is. These are just the facts. This is just what happened. I remember going, whoa, wait, no, you can't do that. And I went, well, now what do I do? It's kind of like raising kids. They have these things that are theories that have no proven ground. That's, I think, a lot of problem in society. Like boundaries, that doesn't really exist. It's ridiculous. People just wipe those away. Then what do you do? The boundaries are violated. I remember the word consequence when my first son was born. You're in a consequence. Put him in his room. I leave the room, follows me out of the room. I go, what are you doing? He goes, timeout's over. So he decided timeout was over. Theoretical things, they need some proving ground. And a lot of them don't work, especially in this world, the woo-woo world that they're in. It's theoretical, holding space and all these things that they do in that world, in that realm of pretend. And it's phony. And it's just so sad to watch this descent into darkness when allegedly it's light. And I'm shocked on practically a daily basis at the behavior. It's shocking to see where this woman took her. And obviously she's responsible. Lotus is she's an adult. She's responsible. I'm somewhat responsible as well. Accountability is just so important, not to be victims. This is part of my accountability. You'll hear a lot about what did I draw in? What's my part in this? I'm 100% responsible, but definitely 100% responsible for any resentments I have, and resentments are a killer. I'm not about that. I have ways to release those resentments, and I'm going to give those tips to you as well. I do coaching, by the way. I really enjoy that so much. The alchemy of laughter. Laughter is so important. I hope you giggle once in a while in this too. It's a allegedly tragic story. I don't really look at it that way. I don't look at things like in that way, but there's a lot of grief going on too. So this woman broke sells this insurance. It's like this thing you got to pay. It's like people under you and stuff like that. And Lotus handled that. And then she just took off. This broke, just takes off, moves to New Mexico, and leaves us with another agent or whatever. Well, where was all the stuff you just promised us? You just promised it. These people, and now Lotus, have no ethics and do not honor their words, their vows, their commitments. They don't. They live in a selfish, egomaniacal world that they can do anything and be okay with it, including theft and some other really bad things. Whew. Shocking. This woman, so beautiful. And her kids are. Ooh. They're just these magnificent, like little angels. And I think they know instinctually what's going on. I know that they know. They did an intervention on her, and the results were not good. So she goes away, Broke goes away, and leaves us with this insurance scam. It was a scam. So I just dumped that money out. Then she comes back. And Lotus has this thing that she's attracted to strong women. People say, are they lesbians? I don't think so. But again, I don't know. I don't know much. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't know much. I don't know some of the things I don't have answers to. One of the answers I keep asking myself was she conning me all along? Is Lotus truly a grifter? Was she lying just to get two children that are, she has two children, great lifestyle. I've had it all over the country, all over different places, beautiful hotels and great lifestyle. I mean, we've had an incredible life. We live in a great neighborhood. It's safe. It's beautiful. Great schools, all of it. I'd sacrifice. I just work my ass off all the time. I'm a 24/7 working guy and creative, and I don't stop. But I don't do it for me. I do it for others. I do it for my family. Literally, by the way, not like a little bit. It's everything is about other people for me, and I'll work on that. So I'm a rescuer, a fixer, and it has not served me that well. And she was one of them. But was she conning the whole time? Let's all figure that out together. It sure seemed like the most beautiful marriage. We're married in Hawaii 17 years ago. I looked into her eyes, made our own vows. Oh my God, I cried. As a matter of fact, my son was 10 at the time, and he took her down right after the marriage. He took her down to the beach. They're also born on the same day, not literally, but same birthday. He takes her down to the beach, and he got a pearl that day with me. We went shopping in Hawaii, and he got on one knee, and he said, will you be my stepmom? So beautiful. She cried more at that than the wedding. And they bonded. They really bonded. There was something, he saw visions and dreams of both babies. He thought of the name that my wife at the time had thought of this name when she was a little girl. I mean, all this synergy and just psychic connections, and it was just amazing. We lived an amazing life, but was it a ruse? Sad to think it was. That I was conned definitely in the last few years, big time. But was I the whole time? Maybe we'll figure that out together as we go down this road, this story. So Broke then reappears and takes us, or Lotus, to this new multi-level marketing, this person who allegedly is really at the top. Speaker, author, there's a lot of them. They come up with a great title of a book, by the way. A lot of them do have books, and they'll call themselves a bestseller. It means they sold 5 copies to their friend. So, and it's a woman named Raven. And she goes to Raven. It's called Year to Millionaire. They're going to go to a mansion, and I should have known things were up because there was no mansion. You pay her $10,000. She teaches this group for 30 days how to make $1 million through multi-level marketing, blah, blah, blah. So I started to get suspicious. And I brought in my friend, Ted, who was like a president of multi-level marketing, this guy, and he's a real deal guy, one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met. And Ted comes in and he does the intervention. He goes, this woman, Raven, is full of it. She's absolutely full of it. She's a liar. And oh, she's so sweet though. Lotus is so sweet. She wouldn't see it. She stayed. And one by one, people were leaving this thing. And also she was asked to put in more money. She would come to me. She would just get the money. Tens of thousands of dollars into another scheme and another thing. And it turns out, so everyone left except for Broke, was like the co-captain, and there was Lotus. They like abused her too. When she did finally leave, I remember I said to my son to go listen. Is she getting out? He called it Boo Group because he would go. I'd say, "Where's mommy?" And there she was again. Just hundreds of hours. I mean, just spent on these Skype calls. Or he said, "Boo Group." So we call him the alien Boo Group. So we called. I said, is mommy getting out of Boo Group? And he goes, she's staying in Boo Group. She couldn't bring herself, because they have these manipulative ways. I'm also going to give you tips and know if somebody's going to get into a cult because they're manipulative. They say, sign a contract, honor your word, and all this kind of stuff. And she couldn't get out. Finally, she did. When it was discovered, she had one little day when she went, oh, whoa. Turns out this Raven stole $500,000 to pay her credit card bills. She conned all of them and then had the guts to sue us all because we protested online for defamation or whatever it was. Oh, when I ran at her at a parking lot, she didn't know it was me because I was never on these calls. She's flirting with me in the parking lot. And then we go into the deposition. I'm like, I stared her down. I'm Philly. I said, go ahead, look me in the eye, you crook. Look me in the eye. She couldn't do it. It's kind of like the way we operate in Philadelphia. Go ahead. Look me in the eye, you thief. I think she settled. I mean, we have our insurance covered our part, but anyway, Broke stayed with her till the end. As a matter of fact, my wife honored her commitment and met them in San Diego at a convention, a multi-level marketing convention. They humiliated her. They shamed her. And then she still went with this Broke and started more businesses together. More and more businesses, soap and Oryx and another Utah thing, and Enagic water machines and Mommy Minutes. They would go down for these photographs of themselves just with the kids. No dads, by the way. Dads were not useful except for our money in their world. These photos were all them, the mommies. Dads aren't needed. Where's our feedback? Where's our love and support? Where's our feminine side as part of it? I sacrificed for all 4 kids. So I'd come off the road and immediately go coach the kids in their teams and help them with their homework, and just always, always there. Even with my abandonment issues, I certainly had those from my dad leaving. I can't take it when a waiter leaves my table. Where are you going? I'm getting your food, sir. Oh, sure you are. He's not coming back. They're all the same. I was a delinquent. I got arrested when I was 13. Not having a dad. And the cop says to me, how would you like to end up like one of these guys on a poster? I'm going, at least he's wanted. It's my favorite joke. He goes, oh, I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I kind of want you to feel sorry for Lotus. And maybe if you're a friend, a true friend, which is really bothers me. I reached out to her friends, and no one, friends and family, they all ignore me. Maybe when they hear the truth, and I have all the evidence, I've got videos, I've got the kids have witnessed it. Lotus has turned into big time thief, liar, stole. She tried to steal $1 million, change in the bank account. This is what she's become, and has no let up, no pause, no apology, no regrets. And what I keep trying to say is, what do you think you're teaching the kids? And here's one of the reasons I'm doing this. And the one place I am in fear, I will tell you some of the things that have happened, and it's scary. I was watching a documentary. I forget what it was called, maybe Sins of My Mother, but this woman, Lori Vallow, kind of famous that she had a cult leader herself. Real normal life, beautiful, the whole stuff, same as Lotus. And she killed her husband, and she killed her 2 children and her brother because she got locked in with someone who's an influence. And again, I'm not being dramatic, but I will tell you my feelings were absolute fear because I've seen so many things. My ex is violent. She doesn't know how to deal with her old traumas. Does bad trauma responses. Freaks out, runs out of rooms, but violent tantrums. Even our mediation, she says, we'll have a conscious uncoupling. That's another BS word that people use, conscious uncoupling. Nope, won't use lawyers. Boop, 2 lawyers later, she's got, I tried mediation, storms out of mediation. These are just facts. This is who she's become. Person with unbelievable integrity. So they leave the one, she goes with broke, they're getting all these businesses. And then it starts wandering into sexual stuff. And I'll leave you with this for this episode. They went away after I'd watched the kids. Chloe was newborn. Jackson, 4 years old, 5 years old. I'm watching the kids while she goes away and learns dances. It's part of the woo-woo. Learn dances. To go to Australia for the freedompreneurs. They'll come. I don't make this up. They're going away with the freedompreneurs to celebrate themselves, express themselves. And this woman broke would talk about sovereign freedom for mamas. Get out of your golden cage. Call it a golden cage. By the way, I'd like to be in one for like a day. I'd like someone to take care of me. It'd be awesome. So she goes to Australia. And this was an indication of she was being had by this woman who sucked her in. I followed Broke on her Instagram. So she says this on Instagram. I'll read it to you in the next episode. And I knew her husband, by the way, great guy. And they went to Australia, and she had a one-night stand. She cheated on him and bragged about it on social media. That's what she does, the arrogance of this woman. And she basically says, not basically, follow me, ladies, of all the steps that I have taken for my freedom, my sexual freedom, and it turns into a whole sex thing. And I was reading them beforehand. I was reading these posts that she would have, Broke, mostly naked, almost naked. She's in her 50s. Just looked like an OnlyFans account. Just bragging about this freedom and how she could homeschools her kids and how wonderful she is, and this sexual freedom, and every one of them at the top of the list on the likes on Instagram. There's Lotus. There she is, supporting all of her. There's another cult called Orgasm Inc. There was another one. I told you about the other cult with this Lori Vallow. By the way, I'm friends with her brother. And that's another reason he did the same thing I did. Please, someone listen to me. No one would listen to him. Those kids could be alive. And I'm trying to do the same thing here. Somebody listen. Somebody do an intervention. Somebody talk to her and tell her at least go get help. At least go get a diagnosis. Forget the ego. You got a big ego. Put it in check and understand these children, that's what they want for you. They want you to be well. They notice it. They've noticed the brainwashing. I said to them recently, I said, what do you think the reason we got divorced? I said, when you're going to be married someday, possibly, what are you going to tell people? Because we didn't fight. There's no real issues. I mean, that's not like most parents, most people who have children of divorce. They go, oh, my parents should have divorced years ago. My kids do not think that. Game nights, fun, travel, all of that stuff. That's all they experience. But she would spend hundreds of hours off of the family and into listening to Broke on these listening calls and these Zoom things. And she did it before with Raven, and she just gets locked in. She admits that Raven was a cult, by the way. That's crazy, but she does admit that. And left the family to go down this road. Now it's turned into a whole sex cult, just like there's another documentary called Orgasm Inc. I've been on my friend's, Lori Adam is her brother. I've known him for years. And I've been on his podcast, and he's very clear about, same as I am, somebody please listen. Get out of the judgment. I understand there's a lot of judgment towards men. I understand that men have done some horrible things for centuries. I get it. I get it. Not the case here. You can project all you want. You can be angry at yourself all you want. You can think other things. I am telling you, and I'll put the kids on here. Don't put them in the middle. I'll get in trouble for that. How else are you going to hear the truth? I've told the people who are the friends in the family, I said, okay, if you don't believe me, just hear the kids' numbers. Just go talk to the kids and ask them what they've witnessed. They've seen the violence. They've seen the beating. They've seen her snap. They've seen all the scratching. They've seen all of it. They watched what else she did to this family. They saw what she did to them, kidnapping them twice. I'll leave it at that for now. I got all upset, didn't I? Yeah, we're all a gamut of emotions. And I understand how you might even feel. Wondering what the agenda is that I have, wondering what my role in this is, what's my pattern, how do I bring this about, how come I have, is it always the crazy woman? Oh my God, there he is. He's just he's a pig who's going to just blame. Well, stay with me and you'll see. Stay with me. Come to the next podcast, which I've already recorded. I hope I don't repeat myself. I'm going to have to go listen to them again. I've done 3, about to do a 4th, and we're going to go from there. Follow this journey with me. Maybe at the end of the journey, my hope is that there's a solution that happens. My hope is that she leaves that woman who she's so dove into her. The kids were talking about it tonight. They said she's pinned on her phone. She lied to the kids and went to Japan with this woman 2 weeks ago. And I was with the kids in Vegas having a great time. And she lied to them, and he cried. My son cried. There was again another lie. She lies. If she told the truth, it'd be by accident at this point. I'm not exaggerating. This is unrecognizable. The saddest thing I've ever seen in my life was this fall from grace. And doesn't ever say anything to say, yeah, I've had enough. I'm sorry. And I will tell you how she really feels about me. She texts me every so often. For a while, it was pretty steady. I was an ass, by the way. I was a jackass the way I received it because I was angry. And I also see how phony it is, and I think she has an agenda. Whatever it is, I did not receive it well. She constantly would text me gratitude. I'm grateful how generous you are. I'm grateful how smart you are. I'm grateful how great you are with the kids. I'm grateful for so many things. Kindness, your sincerity, your inspiration, your creativity. I mean, it's constant. I'm getting these text messages. But the other side of me, because I was fooled for so many years, I'm still wondering whether I was fooled from day one. I don't know. We'll find that out. And I didn't receive it well, to be honest with you. I got nasty in return. And I do. I have reactions. And sometimes, here's my tip. I'll hopefully leave you with tips. Reactions. The reactions give them what they need to justify their crimes. Now you become the reason, the blame. The Japan lie, she blamed me. She said, I want to cause chaos. I'm like, if you tell the truth, there's no chaos. That's what I want to say, but she doesn't listen. Take a sacred pause. Take a spiritus, the Latin word for breath. Take that breath. I say this because I need to, and I do. And when I do, it's always contrary action. It happens. So I implore you to do, I advise you to do, I suggest you do, is when you're ready to react. And by the way, I also encourage you to reach out to me. Private messages. Yeah, if you have any questions, any curiosity, be curious. Curious is beautiful. Beautiful. It's how you become creative and better. And be creative and listen. Try not to rush to judgment. Stay with me here. You can have your own discoveries, and maybe somebody in your family has been influenced. Maybe a family member is an alcoholic or a drug addict, or maybe they're a pathological liar, or maybe they have something else that's really affecting you. We're in this together. Mental illness is huge. It's everywhere, but we're afraid of it. And very few people are courageous. I'm telling you, I'm a courageous son of a bitch. Resilient son of, I am courageous. That is one thing, and everyone knows this about me. I did an intervention one day, and everybody backed off. They stood back, the relatives and everything else, and I got on the bed with the person with beer cans and cigarettes and bleeding. I got on the bed. I'm like, hey, here I am. I remember it was one of those really wonderful moments in my life, actually. I just felt so, because I had the power of the highest power, Big G. Big G led me on that bed and ended up in rehab. She ended up in rehab. And that's what I'm hoping for Lotus. She promised the kids that she would go to rehab, and she didn't. I have them in therapy. They were in therapy, and they told the therapist that's one of the big disappointments is Mommy won't go to therapy like she promised. She said, well, if Daddy goes, I'll go. And, of course, I went. I'll do anything. I went for a little while, but then they had a mask mandate. This tells you who I am. It was like, after everything was over, and suddenly, whoop, it's back, and mask mandate. I said, I'm not going to wear a mask. And I said, where's the mandate? And I challenged her, and she's there with her mask on. You're going to have to leave. So I got kicked out of rehab. But guess what? I was there for codependency, and I said, I'm going to draw my boundary. I'm not wearing a mask. Turns out I was right. Masks are useless. I stood my ground, drew the boundary, and I need to do a lot more of that with my life. I should have done that in my marriage. But I'm not going to regret the past, or they say, or wish to shut the door on it. This door is open. Let's play. Let's go. Let's move. Let's evolve. All right? And we'll get to some more funny stuff. I'm a comedian. I'm not very funny here. Get it. We're all good. I'll see you next time for My Wife Joined the Cult. Thanks for listening.